Film, gaming, pop culture. Welcome to episode 4 of Everything is Permitted. I'm your host, Julian Brown, alongside my co-host, Matt Reppert.
How you doing, everybody?
Well, I say it every week. I'll say it again. Another week, another nerd.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely some nerd stuff to really talk about here.
There always seems to be.
Oh, yeah, always. God, it never stops.
Yep. I do want to put out a quick word. We are experimenting with some new audio tech. We are now each have our own mic, which is going to make things a lot nicer. But if things sound a little bit more quirky and off, it's because we're trying all that out this week. Yep. So we'll hopefully be back to normal in the next 2 weeks when we have a boom and everything for this mic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we are going to be talking today about fixing the DC universe, among many, many other things, which after some news this week seems like it could actually happen.
They might be taking the first steps to fixing it, to making it something that you're not ashamed to say you're watching one of their movies.
Yeah. So that is exciting. Let's before we get into that, and before we get to the permitted minute, last week and the week before, I think it was last week. All in 1 week, we did that crazy "Who's your favorite Avenger" poll because we did our big Marvel episode.
Yes, absolutely.
We wanted to find out who's.
Yeah, I mean, what do the people think?
Yep. So it started off with Iron Man and Thor, and Tony Stark got blown out 58% to 42% by Thor.
Yeah, that was a little surprising. But...
Yeah, I mean, like, come on, Tony Stark. And then then we had Captain America versus the Hulk. That was easy.
That's not one that was...
Before I continue, Karen actually mentioned that I maybe should have done this in a different order, but I did it in at least the first few in, like, the way in which the movies were released. Mm-hmm. So, there were some uneven matches. I think I still would have done it the same.
We could have done more of a bracket system because you maybe have the... you don't want to match up the really uber popular heroes right away, but I mean, I understand why you did it the way you did it, but...
It ended up still coming, I think, to the conclusion it maybe would have come to anyway.
Yeah. Maybe.
So Cap beat Thor 71 to 29%.
Damn.
Yeah, it was brutal. And then we had Black Widow versus Hawkeye. Come on.
Yeah, that was an easy one.
sorry, Hawkeye. Black Widow 68 to 32%. Then we had the Lovers, the Lovebirds, Scarlet Witch versus Vision. 69% for Scarlet Witch, 31% for the Vision. The Falcon versus War Machine. These guys, like, with their armor and their wings, and I love both of these guys. Mm-hmm. War Machine lost. This was a close one. It was 54% to 46% in favor of the Falcon.
Oh, wow, okay.
I'm a big War Machine guy. I do also. I want to say that I did not vote in any of these. I wanted to.
No, I didn't either. Well, also part of the fact was that every time I was like, oh, maybe I'll vote in a poll, I kept logging in as the admin of the page, and I was like, I don't want to do that.
And then we had this was I think the closest one, which is why we decided to keep them in. They were our wild cards. It was Spider-Man versus Doctor Strange. Mm-hmm. That ended 51 to 49%. Yeah, so they made it to the next round based on how close that battle was. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. After that, we had Black Panther versus Bucky. That's also
that was always going to be a lopsided defeat. A really
big mismatch. 79% to 21.
God,
it was brutal in favor of T'Challa. And then I think we are into the knockout rounds now. This was a big matchup. This was Thor versus Captain America. Mm-hmm. And Thor won big, actually, 64% to 36% over Captain America.
Wow.
If it was me, I would have voted for Cap.
Yeah, I probably would have voted for Cap, too.
Which is hard because I love Thor. And after Ragnarok, I love Thor. And Avengers Infinity War. I love Thor even more.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I mean, that's actually a little surprising to me that he won in such a big fashion, so...
And then we had Black Widow versus Scarlet Witch. I didn't know how this one was going to go, but Black Widow dominated. It was 67 to 33.
I mean, part of that comes from the fact that you've known Black Widow much longer, and you kind of know her character a little bit more.
Yeah. So. Doctor Strange versus the Falcon, another blowout.
Yeah, I could have told you how that one was going to go.
73% to 27%. And then this was one that... This was the finale of Knockout Round 1, and there was a little bit of controversy with this one because at the time, the next day that I chose the winners, Spider-Man was in the lead, and Black Panther wasn't. And then, like an hour later, after I started the new polls, T'Challa took the lead. Ooh. So I was like, I did it. I did it in the mornings. I set a time it was going to be done to get your votes in.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't vote after the deadline, after the timeline.
I mean, you could. It just wasn't going to count.
No,
so
absolutely.
So that actually ended if it had gone the other way, 55% to T'Challa over 45 for Spidey. So it was a big shift.
That was a big swing.
Yeah. Then we had Thor versus Black Widow. Again, I think not the greatest matchup. Thor took that one handedly, 73% to 27%. And then this one I thought was going to be a little bit closer. It was kind of close. Doctor Strange versus Spider-Man. I think it would have been closer if it was Doctor Strange versus T'Challa. But Strange won 57% to 43% over Spider-Man. I think it's because all the ladies have the giant crush on Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah,
and then obviously that meant the final was Thor versus Doctor Strange. And this was a blowout. It was a blowout. I had no idea it was going to be a blowout. 73% for Thor to 28% for Doctor Strange.
It honestly surprises me that Thor won the whole thing because, Thor, I like Thor and I like obviously I like the character, but I mean, other than Thor Ragnarok and the Avengers movies, the first two Thor movies were dull as shit. I mean, we got to be honest.
I thought the first Thor was very, very good. I thought the second Thor is what everybody else thought. It was a good movie. It just wasn't anything compared to any of the other Marvel movies. It was your kind of very generic, stereotypical generic. There's a good guy. Here's a bad guy.
There's a bad guy doing something.
Damsel in distress, type of thing. So, I had this whole plan, and maybe we'll do this on another show down the line. I want to get people on to talk about what led to Thor. So maybe if you want to email us or Facebook comment, let us know why you picked Thor. We might bring you on the show to talk about it because
absolutely.
I mean, who doesn't like the God of Thunder though? Out of all the characters in the MCU, I think he's actually grown the most as a character because, like you said, the first two movies we have a little bit of a different opinion. We're a little dull. And he was just very, kind of how he is in the comics. Not very funny, very, all business.
Yeah.
He has a few funny moments of both movies, but not entirely. And then Ragnarok completely,
Oh, yeah. It's a completely different character, you can argue.
And Infinity War takes it also to another level. So, yeah. Thor, congratulations. You are the winner of the Everything is Permitted Favorite Avenger Poll. I want that thunder, baby. I want that thunder. Without further ado, we are going to get to the
Permitted Minute.
And now, I told Matt before we started the show that we have 6.
Yes, finally, we have 6.
So we're at 7:59 now. Sorry, 7:55. We're going to go at 8 minutes starting now.
Netflix has officially canceled Iron Fist because why did we have it in the first place? James Gunn has jumped ship to DC and will be directing Suicide Squad 2. We talk about this more in our main story.
Ryan Coogler is returning to write and direct the sequel to Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Also, Sony has finally announced that changing your PSN handle will finally, I used that word twice in this thing, is a thing. Finally, I'll say it for a third time. Also, while doing so, they all but confirmed the PS5 is on the way.
Chris Evans has wrapped filming on Avengers 4 and principal photography has also wrapped.
Scarlett Johansson will be making the big bucks for her Black Widow movie. Big bucks in the form of $15 million.
Wow.
We're done.
Wow. I think we're getting better at this.
I think we're too good.
We're getting better at this. We might have to bump it up to 7 or 8.
That was 45 seconds.
We're
45
quick.
seconds.
We're quick.
I think 7, 8, maybe. Hey, shit. Maybe.
We gotta start testing ourselves here.
We do.
We gotta get
that
more
was a little
in
bit
there.
too much. I actually want to touch on where'd it go? The first one real quick about Iron Fist. I heard or I read a rumor today that it actually might get picked up again by the Disney streaming service.
I've heard that too, and having never watched Iron Fist, I don't care either way.
I've never watched a season of it.
Because I remember watching the trailer and I was like, what's so interesting about this guy? What does Danny Rand bring to the table other than being generic white dude who has magic kung fu powers?
I've never cared about Danny Rand in the comics. I've never cared. I've always kind of liked maybe the combination with him and Luke Cage, big guy and the little guy with the big fist, and all right, that's kind of cool, but I don't know. Maybe not Disney, maybe not. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, even if it moves to Disney, though, I mean, are they still going to try and fit it within the Netflix series like they did with the Defenders?
I think
how the hell will that work?
I think Disney's going to have to realize that they have to take some more risks, that they have to maybe allow like TVMA stuff or rated R stuff. And we're going to find out with the deal's done in January, actually possibly sooner. I mean, it's already been agreed upon. They just have to sign all the paperwork and everything. So we'll find out, like, because, Deadpool, there's got to be a Deadpool 3, and it remains to be seen if that's going to be rated R now that Disney owns it. That is, I feel like we could talk about Marvel every single episode.
We probably could, but people would get tired of that.
They
So
would.
we're going to talk about another comic.
We are, and that'll be later. We are actually going to focus on the DC universe. God help us, later on. But first, 2 weeks ago, Assassin's Creed Odyssey was released. So we're going to spend the first portion of our show talking about this game, and this game has literally, not just because I love it and hate it. I spent so much time in it so we could talk about it on the show. I'm like 80 hours into it, and I don't know. Like, I love and hate this game. It's a lot bigger than Origins.
Yes.
In scope and size, and I thought Origins was huge.
Yes.
Is it maybe too big to a fault? Is it maybe not at fault? I mean, do you like having the world of Greece be so big in this game?
I mean, I don't mind worlds being big as long as you make them interesting for, places for me to go. And I'm not as far as you are in the game because I have other games that I kind of bounce around. And also, you got the super ultra uber edition, so you actually got it, a better part of a week before I did. I mean, I've enjoyed playing it. I still think that Ubisoft is basically dipping their foot into the waters of RPG territory with this, and they don't know how they want to do it. And I think this game was as I said, just testing the water, all right, what could we do? How could we turn Assassin's Creed into what it was, into what we want it to be? And I mean, I tell people whenever I talk about video games with people, I'm a huge Assassin's Creed nut. I own all the games. I actually own a physical copy of the remastered Assassin's Creed Rogue, which I had to order from Europe because they did not release a physical copy of it in the United States. And I don't, as we discussed in the first episode, I'm a huge fan of owning physical copies. So, I mean, so far from what I've played, it's Assassin's Creed just with a different flavor to it.
So that's like where I'm at. Like, it's very much a different flavor. I guess where I'm having trouble is that, like, I thought that Origins was huge. Okay, like, I thought that was a massive map, and it was. It really was. It was the biggest thing they've done to date. It was. And I don't even think that was all of Egypt. It was a good portion of it, but it wasn't all of it.
No, but it was a nice chunk, though. Jesus.
This game is all of Greece. All of Greece. There's locations in this game that I have physically been to. I spent a month in Greece. It's a beautiful country. My problem is, when I played Origins, I had a very, like, set mode on, like, how I was going to do things. I was going to level up. I would do, like, missions, like, 2 levels behind me, and then, like, I'd focus on the story. Like, I would do a lot of side missions, and then, like, go to the next part. What I don't like about this game is the level scaling. And I feel like I have to always be 2 levels above to even have a chance against enemies. And it's basically, like, changed my playstyle to where I'm literally doing every single question mark on the map, and there's so freaking many in this game.
Yeah.
I'm doing every one before I even do a side mission. I'm trying to get all that XP to level up as fast as I can. So it's taking me, a really long time. And there were a lot of question marks in, if you don't know what I mean by question mark, I don't actually mean question. I mean, on the map, there's questions which are...
You don't know what's there.
You don't know what's
a
there.
Place of
you go and explore it, which is cool. I do like that.
But
I feel like this time it's oversaturated. I'm like, oh, cool, but also I'm like, can we just, like, can I just get to the story? It's a fault of my own, and I think you do the same thing. Is I want to see everything first before I do a story. So every time I see a question mark pop up, I just go to it.
I mean, yeah, I'm very much the same way, and like you, like, I like doing the side quests, and I would do in the older Assassin's Creed games, I would do all these side quests. So by the time I hit the main storyline, the way literally I could play those missions were, the best way I could describe it is that scene from Monty Python when Lancelot runs into the castle and kills everybody.
Yeah.
That's basically what my character is by that point in the main storyline, because there's just like, oh, you got to be careful. Like, yeah, I'll be careful. My guy can just go running in and go to town.
But you can't do that in this game, and there's a lot of people that are furious because you want to go, like, there's some places where you want to go and you want to have a challenge.
Yes.
And there's places where in Origins and in Syndicate that were leveled down. Not leveled down, but like you would level up past those and they stayed at those levels. So you could go in and be a boss. And you can't do that anymore.
No, and I mean, and part of it comes from the game. Comes from the gameplay, because I'm a sword and shield guy, and you know I always use a sword in pretty much any game when that's an option between spears and maces and all the other stuff. And I noticed that in the combat, I'm constantly just mashing attack. I don't feel like my guy is a badass who's just like is just wading through people because he is this super ultra elite warrior. Maybe I haven't hit a certain level yet, haven't unlocked certain skills.
No, you're not, because you saw I'm higher than you. It's not. Yeah, it's not even that.
And also on top of that, when it comes to the assassinations, I cannot go through a camp and just silently kill everybody. There's always at least one or two guys in there who take. Like I get the drop on them. I use the crit hit. I use all the stuff on them. Does a ton of damage to them. Even if they're sleeping, you think that my guy would literally just walk up and just go, and just like kill the guy instantly, because I wait till dark. I sneak in like a Greek ninja, and there's a guy sleeping there. He's the boss of the camp. I walk up and I stab him with this the spear of Leonidas, which with all these super crit stuff attached to it, and he wakes up and goes, "Help! I'm being attacked!" Like. Wait, what?
You just brought up that is literally my biggest gripe with the game. Is one of the coolest things that I ever did in Origins was in Alexandria, the big tower fort. I went and I did that without getting noticed once. I did it. I like to play assassin and arrows.
Yes.
If I have to use my sword, like I use that too.
Yeah,
it's fun too. But I'm all about assassination and arrows. I went through that whole goddamn fort and did the like where you can control the arrow. I did that to get the instant headshots, and I went and just assassinated everybody else. And you could do it one touch if you did it right.
Yeah.
Right? And then if you do get noticed in Origins, like you have to fight that guy and maybe like two of his buddies will come over, but like that's it. Dude, if you get even noticed now, they go and do the fucking the pyre, and then all the
your bounty hunters.
You like go up to like a 3 bounty, and all the extra soldiers come, and it's like you absolutely cannot do a fort as an assassin. So the game's broken in that way at this point.
Yes.
You can't do it as an assassin or an archer. You have to basically button mash, which is so annoying.
And I mean, another issue I have with the game is the fact that I feel, and I like the idea of taking the Peloponnesian War, a war which not a lot of people know about unless you're a big history nut, and being able to choose, do I want to do more Athens stuff or more Sparta stuff, and ostensibly,
do you want to touch real quick on for people who may not know the Peloponnesian War?
I mean, it's been a while since I've read anything, but from what I can remember from what I've read years ago, was the Peloponnesian War was basically started out as a disagreement between Athens and Sparta over the Delian League, which was this loose alliance that was formed to prevent another invasion of Greece by the Empire of Persia, famously shown in the movie 300, which is absolutely insane, but in no way historically accurate, and I love that movie. Basically, what ended up happening is that the city-states would pay into and say, all right, we're paying money to build our stuff and this and that. And Athens eventually was like, we're going to start using the money to do some other crap. And Sparta was like, that's not right. You shouldn't be doing that. And Athens was like, well, we're going to do it anyway. And Sparta was like, all right, we're going to war to stop this now.
And it did end up eventually with the siege of Athens.
Yes, Athens was occupied. It was I think it was 20 or 30 year long war. It was a long, bloody war, and Athens was beat.
Yeah.
And so I like the idea of, okay, you can alter history if you want to or whatever. But the big problem I have with it is that what you do doesn't mean dick, at least in terms of controlling the regions and stuff like that. Because I'm one of those insane folks that I like to 100% do everything on
Same.
the map, as we said.
Yep.
And the thing is, though, is that like if I walk into a region at first I kind of sided with Sparta because I want to go more of the historical route as to what happened, and then it's just like you walk into an area, it's already controlled by Sparta, but then there's like, oh, there's a fort. You want to complete the fort? Well, killing guys in there lowers Sparta's war ranking and stuff like that, and I'm just like, ugh. I mean.
I don't like working for both sides, basically, same as you.
Yeah,
like,
and
I'm also favoring Sparta mainly because I'm like the two main characters, Cassandra and Alexios,
Mm-hmm.
depending on who you decide to play. Matt played with Alexios, I played with Cassandra, are both Spartan.
Yes.
To begin with, they get wronged by their family, but they're still Spartan. And later in the game, you kind of like you're trying to get your Spartanship back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I wanted to be Spartan from the beginning.
And I feel that, as I said, like it's okay. You do all the stuff now. Athens controls this area, or Sparta controls this area. It in no way affects the gameplay. And also, I mean, and the whole idea of the choices you can make in the game, like it's it's a good idea, but I feel like Ubisoft just didn't know how to implement it. And their biggest case of it I can think is early on in the starting area. What's the island called? I can't even think of it. Kefalonia. Yep. There's that moment when you run into this family that's about to be executed by this crazed priest because of the plague, and he says, "Oh, they have the plague. We need to kill them to keep it from spreading." And you have that big moment when you could decide to save the family or let the priest kill them and prevent the plague from spreading. I always like to play a good guy, so killing women and children doesn't fly. However, the game had a nice moment where it could have said, like, yeah, you might have done the right thing, but it meant something worse happened. And, because they say, like, oh, there's now a plague running through your hometown where you came from, where you were raised, because you let that family walk. And that could have been a moment where I could have been like, oh, shit, like, there are some real consequences, but it doesn't affect the story in any way. You don't do any quests to cure it. You don't run into anybody.
A couple of times.
It's mentioned. Yes, you were explicitly told like there is now the blood plague is now running through California, and that's it. That's the only time I ever heard it mentioned.
If you do go back, like people,
there's bodies, there's bodies being burned, but it doesn't affect. The blacksmith is still hammering away. You can have him, upgrade your stuff. Like there's no consequence to your choice and what it did. And as I said, maybe that's just Ubisoft being inexperienced with this. I mean, right now I'm taking it for it's kind of their rookie, step up to the plate, and they're kind of swinging and trying to see what works.
What I do understand is that a lot of the choices that you make during the game will affect the ending, and apparently there's 13 different endings.
Yes.
So, but like you, I like to play the good guy most of the time. There's a couple of situations where I'm like the bad guy, but more than not I'm the good guy, and so we'll see 13 different endings. Who knows? Let's before we get to that, because that's our last question here, I do want to talk about we're talking about how there's so much to do. I want to know what your personal preferences. Do you prefer like this kind of side mission oversaturation, or do you like a really immersive ultra long story?
The thing is like that commercial one said, can it be both? I mean, because and it's not fair of me to make this comparison, but The Witcher 3 had the immersive side missions that I loved and the ultra long, interesting main campaign. If you want to see how to do an RPG, if you're a video game maker or interested in getting into video games, play The Witcher 3. That is how you do side missions. I mean, there is that whole like go kill this thing and bring me its head or whatever like that. You're never going to get away from that because you have to fill it in somehow. But there's a ton of side missions that are memorable, that are fun. The dialogue is interesting. There's and once again is that I feel that Ubisoft made this huge expansive world and then and some of the side missions are interesting. And I'll give them. I mean, I did the one mission where this cougar of a woman is like trying to sleep with as many dudes as possible, and her husband just can't satisfy her, and you have to go basically hunt down aphrodisiacs for her or for her husband to make him last longer. Like that is an interesting side mission, even if I'm just kind of like, oh god, this is kind of gross.
I will fully admit as Cassandra that she's like a total like whore. Like I'm having her sleep with anybody.
Oh yeah, Alexios. I did the same with Alexios.
But at the end of that mission, you could choose to say, no, let your husband rest.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
So, you get like the cougar and Cassandra together. I'm like, I love it. I love that. But you know what I do like about that? Why it's interesting? Because that was ancient Greece. Like, everybody slept with everybody back then. Like, sex was so just open and and accepted and wild. That's a whole nother story. So you're talking about the RPG format. This is the first time we've had it. Origins played with it a little bit.
Yes, Origins kind of like started it,
Yeah.
and now this is where they basically jumped in.
We both haven't completed the game yet. We're far enough where I think we could make a pretty good suggestion or opinion of it. Would you want it moving forward in the next Assassin's Creed game, or do you want it to be more like Origins?
I mean, it's once again, I don't feel I've seen the best they can do with it yet. Whatever the next Assassin's Creed game is, that will be where I'm going to if they keep doing what they did with Odyssey and they do something new and kind of alter it and everything, then I can make the final judgment. I mean, because Origins to me, I mean, my favorite Assassin's Creed game probably still is Black Flag. Origins I would put maybe a close second, just because
my favorites are still 2. The first Ezio game, I think, is fantastic, and I would say Origins after that. Yeah, they're both very much like the bar.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, so I like having the dialogue options. I almost wish that it could be like a little bit of a hybrid, like Origins, like in the next game. Like, I want to have the dialogue options, but I don't like if you're gonna not have it affect the world like too much, at least like just for the endings, then I'd rather it stay that way. Have the endings be whatever they are, but still give us options on what to say. And if you want to be a hard ass or a nice person, I would be okay with that.
I mean, one thing that I have been crying for years for Assassin's Creed, and this has nothing to do with gameplay and more to do with setting, is do a feudal Japan Assassin's Creed. I mean, you could be a ninja climbing Edo Castle, Osaka Castle, going through. I mean, oh my god,
fans have been asking for that for years.
It would be. I mean, or even China during, and they hinted at that at some point during. I believe it was they made like a little Assassin's Creed movie where they showed how Ezio passed away, and he met Shu Yen, I believe was her name, who her whole backstory to me was fascinating, because she was like, oh, the assassins were wiped out by the Emperor. I need to learn how to build my own Assassin's Brotherhood from you, Ezio, and I'm going back to China to basically kill the Emperor and rebuild this.
You gotta hope that comes to fruition at some point.
It's like the only way that they kind of did a Shu Yen game with that little 2.5 2D crap that they did for China, India, and Russia. And the funny thing is, all three of those settings would be fascinating to play an actual Assassin's Creed game in. And they just kind of wasted them on these little throwaway, 2.5 D games.
I said that I have like a love-hate relationship with this game, and I do. I love it because it's Assassin's Creed, and I love exploring these big worlds. I hate it because, like, even though it's a different setting and a different place, like, I've been to these locations before in all these ancient times, and it's still, at the core of it, like, the same game. You know what I mean? It's time for the game to move forward, and I mean that in time. It needs to move forward in time. Or, give us a feudal Japan game where things are still, like, a little bit
you
more
could do
advanced.
The 1300s or something like that.
Give
the
me
1400s.
Give me the Cold War.
Yeah.
Give me the... I'm not, like, dude, people got assassinated. Like, there was, like, all of those... What's that movie that came out? Something Games during the Cold... Like,
I can't even think of it right now.
The Cold War was full of death, and without there actually being a war. Like, it wasn't called the Cold War for no reason. Like, crazy shit happened during the Cold War.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point where, because, I mean, I was kind of raising my eyebrow a little bit at Odyssey before it came out because of the fact that Origins showed the origin of the Assassin Brotherhood. So now it's like, we're going to have another game that's literally about 500-600 years before Origins. So it's like... So it's technically not Assassin's Creed. It's dude running around Greece, and I mean, granted, I haven't, maybe, it does tie in because of the woman who you're essentially playing as overall outside of the Animus, but
and the fact that all basically kind of all you're doing and all you're hunting for has to do with the Isu artifacts, the ancient ones. So it has, but I don't think there's going to be a moment in this game where they ever say, oh hey, like we're starting this like this is it's called Assassin's Creed, and all the gameplay is the same, but these.
I mean, I always felt with the Assassin's Creed games is that they wrote themselves into a corner with the first
Animus?
three games. With the first three games, with the whole like, the first civilization. I can't even think of the woman's name. The
Juno?
Juno, yes. Who basically it was like, Juno is coming from the first civilization, and she's basically going to end the world, or she's going to take control of it, or blah 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 blah. And then you had the whole thing with Desmond and all that stuff, and Desmond was a boring as crap character.
Yeah,
we have to be honest here. But
voiced by Nolan North, who is usually amazing.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Jesus, oh my god, that makes me sad now. But they ended, obviously, in spoilers if you haven't played Assassin's Creed 3, a game which came out about 10 years ago.
Getting
now.
remastered during
Yes,
the season
it
pass
is,
for this, which
it
I
is
am
getting
excited
remastered.
about.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I'm certainly excited as well. But is that Desmond died, Juno gets released, and nothing happens.
It was really anticlimactic.
Nothing happens to the world. You were still, and that's the funny thing is that chronologically in the modern world, the Assassin's Creed games are going forward. They are past the Desmond dying and Juno getting released. And they're kind of being like, oh, Juno is like gathering her power or whatever like that. Like, okay, then do a modern age Assassin's Creed.
Been waiting for that.
Do a modern era, like a dude in a white hoodie running around knifing people and stuff
we
like
thought
that.
for years that we were going to get that with Desmond.
Yeah,
and it never happened. You got to do like a few side
a
things
little
with
bit
it.
here and there, but I mean,
you didn't get a full game as like Desmond fully realized as an assassin, trying to save the world, which sucked.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much potential for the Assassin's Creed universe, and don't get me wrong, I'm a big history nerd. I love history. I like seeing all these old civilizations and all this fun stuff, and going up and down. Going up the pyramids and all that, and the wonders of the ancient world and all that fun stuff. But all right, it's as you said, it's time to move it forward.
Yep.
Give me something closer to the modern era. I mean, hey, the Cold War would be cool. I'd be interested to see that. I mean, hell, you could maybe do kind of like a post World War II Europe. You're going around a destroyed Berlin, London that's been through the Blitz and stuff like that. I mean,
the one thing about history is that there's so much of it, and you can make a video game cool out of just about anything awesome that's happened in history. So that's Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I think both of us would recommend the game.
Yeah,
but
I'd recommend it especially if you liked Origins, by all means, you're probably going to like this. If you're a huge fan of the Assassin's Creed series, you're probably still going to like it. It might take a little bit of getting used to with the new RPG format, and you need to build up these skills and such to do more damage. And I mean, we have to be honest here. There is some magic now involved in it because your guy has powers. Like, I mean, throwing the spear of Leonidas 20 feet, and all of a sudden your dude is there with the spear, pulling it out of the guy. I mean, it's cool to see it happen. But then you're just like, wait a minute, how did my guy just throw the spear, and a second later he's there with it, yanking it out of the dude? But yeah.
Before we go into our main story here about DC, I do want to mention you said you love playing with a sword more than anything, right? I'm the same way. This game this time, I think for the first 50 or so hours longer, I was playing with a sword. And then have you done any of the quests yet for Atlantis?
No, I have not.
All I'm going to say is that you get looted with one of these amazing battle axes. And I have never been a fan of axe play in these games. That sounded almost really dirty. A-X-E.
Yeah, axe play.
But this axe has changed everything. I'm solely using it now. I love it.
Okay.
So that's AC Odyssey. Definitely pick it up. You're going to be annoyed. You're going to love it. Like I said, love, hate. Speaking of love and hate, the DC movie universe. There's been a lot of bad.
A lot of bad.
Mixed in with just a
sprinkling of good, or at the very least above average.
We both like Wonder Woman. We're both Man of Steel sympathizers.
Yes, absolutely.
Other than that, there's not a whole lot to be excited about.
I mean, Batman v Superman was probably one of the worst things I have ever seen, and I have seen the Wing Commander movie in theaters, okay? And granted, I didn't see Batman Superman in theaters, but it took I was watching it on my tablet, and it took every ounce of willpower to not just close it, to shut the movie down and throw my tablet into a fire. It was that bad.
That's how I felt about Justice League. I thought Justice League was like a steaming dumpster fire, so much worse than Batman.
I mean, Justice League was better, but that's because the bar was so low after Batman Superman.
I can never and I will never get over Stashgate. I just can't. I can't. No, I mean, it literally ruined Superman. I mean, it literally looks like he has a fake face the whole entire movie.
You know, it kind of is telling that. I don't know who was responsible for that, whether it was Henry Cavill or DC or...
It was Paramount.
Or Paramount. Okay, well, whoever was just like,
Paramount
rather than say like, hey, we'll hold up filming so you can do your Mission Impossible, I believe, is where he had the stash and what he was filming kind of in conjunction with Justice League. But rather than just say, like, mustaches grow back. Do people realize that? Like, what?
Apparently, it has to do with had they had to stop production on Rogue Nation, it would have cost them millions of dollars for the delays. And I guess Warner Brothers was not willing to pay Paramount millions of dollars.
So they paid millions of dollars to digitally alter Henry Cavill's face to remove a goddamn mustache.
And the worst part about that is it could have been done well, and they still spent $1 million for a bad job.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars for a like asinine little like rotoscoping hair on his face.
They took the erase tool and just rubbed it over his face a few times in Photoshop, and we're like, yeah, we're good.
Warner Brothers, ladies and gentlemen, Warner Brothers. The DC universe needs a lot of fixing.
Yes.
And it actually may look like it is finally on that track. They've made a lot of big moves. They've gotten rid of Henry Cavill. We both watched just now before we recorded the 5-minute Aquaman trailer, which in my opinion, actually, I like the first trailer. This is exciting. It looks fun.
It looks decent. I'm not going to say that, because Aquaman is not a hero I've ever been, ever really cared a lot about. And, Jason Momoa is a good dude and all that. And, seems like a nice guy, but I don't see him as Aquaman, and I understand, they're trying to do something different, and he's not just going to be, as you said, before we started this, a generic blonde guy, and that's fine, So I'm curious to see how they're going to do with this movie. I wasn't like, oh my god, he was so amazing in Justice League.
You don't want the guy from Entourage to play Aquaman? Vinny Chase or something like that? Entourage was a great show. I think it looks fun. I'm an OG Jason Momoa fan. Karen and I have loved Jason Momoa since Stargate Atlantis, where he played Ronan Dex.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, great character.
I thought you were going to say, like, I loved him when he was Khal Drogo. Like, okay, so pretty much when everybody else started to love him.
Karen and I are OGs.
Look at you, man.
Yeah, we've met the guy.
That Jason Momoa knowledge.
Yeah, we took, like, an awesome convention photo with him and everything. Like, we did the whole Stargate. We're hardcore Stargate fans.
Nothing wrong with that.
We went to Vancouver and did, like, the set tours. So much fun. Anyway, OG Jason Momoa fan. I did like him a lot in Justice League. I actually didn't give a damn about him in Game of Thrones. Like, they could have cast anybody as Khal Drogo. I thought it was actually a waste of his talents. Have you watched Frontier?
I have not watched Frontier.
I haven't either, but I kind of want to watch that before I see Aquaman to see, like, because he has, like, his funny range and he has his, like, serious range. So it's funny how, like, he's gonna balance that.
I mean, watching Justice League, the impression that I got from Jason Momoa's Aquaman is basically they looked at Marvel and said, that's going to be our Thor. Yeah. Aquaman is now our Thor. Yeah. He's going to be this kind of aloof, really strong dude and everything like that, and we're going to make him our comic relief because Batman's too serious. Superman is dead, in Justice League for a time. Wonder Woman is Wonder Woman. She kind of has her awkwardness and all that stuff like that. So, and the Flash, yeah, okay, fine. They went but that's his character. The Flash has always been, more of a kind of a comedic guy.
That pisses me off in so many different levels. And you know what's funny about that is that I thought he was actually one of, like, the bright spots of Justice League. But I want Grant Gustin in that role anytime from the show. Like, he's just so good. what I liked about the Aquaman footage is that unlike all the Zack Snyder crap that we've gotten so much of, this movie was bright and colorful.
Yes.
And it just looks like, I already said it just looks like it's going to be, is it going to be a masterpiece? Maybe not. It might be along the same lines as Thor, but it looks fun.
Yeah, and that's something we're going to get to when we talk about how we would fix the DC universe. Is yes, it looks like they had some fun with it. I'm still kind of a little like wary of the whole like, oh, bad guy is going to invade the surface world or invade other kingdom or invade other world or so. Like that's kind of a tired plot. I mean, personally, I think it would have been a little more interesting if they had it more of like yes, he goes above into the surface world here and there, but it's all contained. But the entire story is beneath the waves, under the ocean, and it's a personal, more of a personal story rather than, oh, you need to become king in order to prevent your half brother or whatever he is from invading Earth and killing billions.
Yeah. This is DC's first movie coming out after the Justice League flop, so this is kind of the start of what they hope is going to repair it. And like you said, we're gonna talk about how you would repair it.
Yes,
it looks like they're already really gearing up to do it. They just announced, and it was officially confirmed, I think, yesterday, James Gunn has jumped ship as a giant fuck you to Marvel and Disney and will be writing and directing Suicide Squad 2. If you don't know, James Gunn is the mastermind behind the Guardians of the Galaxy series, unceremoniously fired by Disney because of politics. How do you feel about this move?
I mean, it's a good move, obviously, because DC needs someone who has experience and knows how to make a good, fun movie. The only downside for it is, to me, Suicide Squad is so broken, I don't even think James Gunn can fix it. I mean, and that's something we're going to get to when we talk about how we're going to fix it, because pretty much the only redeeming thing about Suicide Squad, and I watched it on a cruise with my wife, so that was the first time I saw it. And at first I was like, that's not bad, but then the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, this movie was not good at all.
That's kind of exactly how I felt about it too.
I mean, it's, you know, and it's just some basic things. The only thing about Suicide Squad that I actually enjoyed was Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I think she made a very good Harley Quinn, and I actually feel, and Margot Robbie is actually is a very good actress. You know, she takes her roles very seriously, and she obviously did her homework on Harley Quinn. But the thing with Suicide Squad is that the movie reveled in sexualizing her. It absolutely embraced it, and to a degree that it became disturbing to me. I mean, the part when they're all gearing up and she's like, you know, the Eminem
putting her
song
outfit on,
and she's putting on, and like literally every single person in the military compound is watching her dress, including the women. And it's supposed to be a funny moment, but I was just like, Jesus Christ, guys! Like we get it. Margot Robbie is a very attractive woman, you know, and it's a problem that the DC movies have had, is that the villain was this CG piece of crap who I could not tell you the next thing about.
Same. I don't even remember her name.
I remember the Enchantress, but it was her brother
that's right.
Was the bad, and you didn't even remember who the hell it was. So it's just like, oh yeah, it's, you know, we need to stop this guy from shooting a laser in the sky or whatever the hell it was, you know, to merge our world and theirs or open the portal to hell or whatever.
Which is so just like not Suicide Squad either. Like, it should have been like not so dark like we say about every DC movie. It should have been not so serious. You know, Harley Quinn was pretty much like the comedic relief. And the one thing that was good about that movie was her and Will Smith. They had very good chemistry with him and Deadshot. No,
yeah, but the thing is, and my thing is that, like, I know a lot of people like Will Smith, but I kind of fell out with him a few years ago as an actor, just because, I mean, and because most of his roles are pretty forgettable, at least the last few years. I mean, his thing with Deadshot is, like, I don't think he fit the part at all. Because to me, Deadshot is, you know, this mercenary, you know, taking the contract, out for blood, you know, whatever it takes to get the kill. And maybe I'm totally wrong. Well, because, you know, once again, I'm not a comic book guy.
So before Suicide Squad came out, DC TV and Warner Brothers set up Suicide Squad in Arrow and The Flash.
Okay.
And they were going to do the Suicide Squad. There's even a part where you see Harley's ponytails and you hear her voice. And then the movie division was like, you need to cut the cord on that. We're making a Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah.
But Deadshot was a very big part of Arrow. He was responsible, I think, for killing like Diggle's, like someone in Diggle's family or something. And he's like you said, he's like a ruthless piece of shit mercenary.
Yeah, and the Suicide Squad movie made him into this. Oh, he has a daughter that he loves.
Well,
and this
but
and
that's what I want to get to, because it's the same thing. I think that is like, because I don't know Deadshot that well from the comics, but very much the same thing. Like, he was doing this for a reason, and on TV as well. Like, he had someone close to him, and he gets like some redemption at the end of the his TV arc too.
All right.
So that actually leads in perfectly how we would fix the DC universe. If it was up to me, I would stop. I would just stop.
Yes.
I don't mean like stop making things. I would just stop and say,
Take a breath.
Take a breath. This is what we have here on TV. This is what we have here in the movies. This is what we have here, like in animation. Find one and basically pick one. Okay? Because right now you have Bruce Wayne, young Bruce Wayne, who's about to become Batman on Gotham.
Yes.
You have Batwoman debuting in the Arrowverse with Bruce Wayne already being name dropped, being Batwoman there. Okay. You have Ben Affleck Batman in the DC movie universe. Okay, do you see where I'm going here?
Yeah.
You have Ezra. Is it Ezra Miller?
I think so.
Ezra Miller as the Flash in Justice League. You have Grant Gustin as the Flash on TV, which is better in all the ways. You have Supergirl on Supergirl with Superman cast, okay, and Lois Lane. Then you have the Man of Steel, and Henry Cavill's out, and now you have to cast another Superman. It goes on and on and on and on. What does Marvel have? One standard universe, and even though the Netflix shows kind of
the Netflix
they
shows
stand alone, they're still
they
in
have
that
their
universe.
foot in that universe.
They have their foot in that universe, so it's all connected. DC it's literally taking the multiverse from the comics and not doing
It's funny you mentioned that, because that's what I'm going to talk about here.
It's not doing it well. They need to either focus and put these characters from TV on the big screen, or kill their TV shows and focus on their movie universe. This is how I would fix it.
Okay.
I don't see that happening because Marvel has succeeded. Okay, Marvel has won. There's no way DC is ever going to come and do what Marvel's done. I don't think it's possible. But they can write themselves. DC has always had a great thing going with television. Smallville, I never watched the whole series, but what I watched of it, I loved. Everything there've been a few bad seasons of like Arrow and the Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow has actually become like one of their best shows. They are killing it with these TV shows, and Batwoman's going to get her own show
until they're with Titans and all that. It seems like they're starting to go down that route.
I forgot to mention Titans. Titans, again, dark, gritty, 2 Robins, okay? And then Batman is in that universe, and apparently in that universe, Batman's a cold-blooded killer. How many fucking Batmans do we have? Ben Affleck, young Bruce, there's,
if they have one in Titans, I'm assuming it's going to be...
That's what I'm talking about, yeah. So, Ben Affleck, young Bruce, Titans, Bruce Wayne's name dropped in the Arrowverse. Like, come on. Like, you're killing yourselves.
Yeah.
Focus on one thing and make it great.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to talk for a little bit here about this, because how I would fix the DC universe is, like you, I would kind of full stop. And basically, I'm playing the long game. Now, I'm not doing what Marvel did, but I am taking a page from their book. Because, first of all, the thing is that DC was trying to build towards the big bad. And obviously, it's Darkseid, because he is the one villain that most people know from DC, from years of, like, from the Superman television show and the animated show from the 90s that I grew up with. That's how I know Darkseid. I'm doing a full stop. Now, what I'm doing is that I'm cleaning house on most characters. Ben Affleck, look, and from interviews that I've seen, you could tell Ben Affleck's heart is not being Batman or Bruce Wayne. I don't even know why he took the job in the first place.
I think he liked the idea because apparently he's a big Batman fan. Like he really wanted it and then did it and realized no. He's also like severely fucked up. Like, he's going through a bunch of shit. He's like in rehab.
Yeah.
He got divorced from Jennifer Garner. Like, dude's not in a
and I get
place.
that. And so basically, this is what I'm doing: is first of all, I'm recasting Superman, Batman. Wonder Woman is iffy because I like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, but what I'm doing is the long game here, because basically I'm looking at least 5 or 10 years down the road. Now, I would do Batman, Superman movies, but there's no origin movies. They're already, you know who the hell they are. You know where Superman comes from. You don't have to show the launch from Krypton and have some big name be his dad and, you know, his mom and stuff like that. You don't have to do any of that crap. You can have, I would have like basically like for Batman, have like a year one Batman movie. Like he is just getting the Batman, he's getting the cowl on for the first time, and he's starting to get this underway. So I'm casting younger.
Do you think that's a little bit too close to Batman Begins, because they go through the origin story there very quickly?
Yes, but I mean, but once again, is that Batman Begins and all that, and this is where I start getting cute, is because you can explain all those other movies and such and say different multiverses, you know, because DC has the multiverse. So you can say Batman Begins and all that crap happened. It just happened on a different Earth. You know, you can, it's Earth, 2179 or whatever like that. You know, you can do all that other stuff. So basically, I'm casting young actors and actresses to be in these roles, to grow into them for the next few years, because I want a young Batman. I want a young Superman. I'm doing an exhaustive search to get the actors and actresses into these parts that are going to be there for years to come. Now, what I'm doing is I'm not building to the big bad coming to, I'm not building towards Darkseid. I'm instead building towards stories. So now I've said repeatedly, I'm not a comic book guy because I haven't read a lot of comics. One comic series that I have read most of, and I think it would be fantastic to do, is the Injustice storyline. Because basically I do a couple movies with these Batman, Superman characters and Wonder Woman and all this other stuff, and establish all these characters, and I give them 1 or 2 movies to establish who they are, what they're about. And basically the way I play, and Injustice to me is what I'm building towards. And the way I play it is, I don't tell you what I show you. Like, you see that Superman goes bad. And so people are going to cry betrayal and foul and stuff like that. And the way the Injustice movie is done is it's basically the DC version of Civil War. However, the thing is, it would be a 2-part movie, is at the end of the movie, you see that's where the alternate dimension comes into play, where the Batman and Superman we've been building up, that's where they actually appear. So the whole time, it was a sleight of hand. So you thought that these were the Batman Superman characters you've been watching the entire time.
I got some goosebumps.
Yeah, but it's not. So basically, right near the end, at the end of the first part, is all of a sudden, like, that's when, and if you've ever played the Injustice video games, it's basically, our quote unquote Batman, Superman, and the other heroes find this alternate dimension, and spoil the story a little bit for you in case you never have. Is basically the Joker essentially tricks Superman. He takes kryptonite, puts it with his Joker gas, and hits Superman with it. And he also puts fear gas in there from Scarecrow. He kills Scarecrow and takes his fear gas. So he has this huge concoction of crap. He nails Superman with it. And Superman sees the one thing he fears, and that is Doomsday. And you would have a Doomsday movie. That would be its own thing, a Superman Doomsday movie, maybe the second movie or something like that. But basically, he sees Doomsday, and he takes Doomsday and flies up into space with him, only to find out that it's Lois Lane. And he doesn't know it, and Lois is pregnant. And he kills both Lois and the infant, or kills Lois and the baby in one fell swoop. And so basically he goes to prison where Joker has been captured. And also when Lois dies, a nuclear weapon goes off in Metropolis, basically levels it. So everyone that other than his parents, everyone he knows and loves is dead.
Wow. So
all of Metropolis is gone. And so basically he goes to prison, and Batman is there. And, Batman is do not kill under any circumstances. And this is where the break happens, is they get into an argument where he says, like, all you had to do, Bruce, was kill him, and just one life. That was it. And millions would have been spared. And Batman says that's not my choice to make. And so Superman kills the Joker on the spot. Punches right through his chest, kills. Joker's laughing the whole time. because Joker knows that he made something worse.
Yeah.
And so and that's where, because Superman finally is done with this shit. His attitude now is humanity can't take care of itself. I'm now your guardian. I'm going to do everything now. And he goes to the UN and says, all your wars, they're done. Like anybody who tries to do anything, I'm now showing up to take care of it. And that's literally what he does. And Batman obviously is horrified by this.
Well, yeah, it's a complete dictatorship.
Yeah, and Batman, and probably one of the most mindfuck moment of the entire thing is because Superman knows his one weakness at this point is his parents, Ma and Pa Kent. So he has them put in the Fortress of Solitude. And I can't remember the exact reason why, but Batman and his little group of superheroes that he gathers on his side decide to go to the Fortress of Solitude, and one of them is Green Arrow, who's a part of this group. So Superman finds out they're there, and he literally beats Green Arrow to death with his bare hands. Just pummels him to death. Because he thinks they're there. He thinks they're there to harm his parents. And that is where he is irredeemably broken. He's now full on villain. But honestly, one of my favorite parts from the whole thing is Batman still refuses to kill him. And Batman knows his weakness is kryptonite and all that other stuff. And probably one of my favorite lines is, I forget which character says it, but basically Superman is weakened by kryptonite at this point, and he's getting his ass whooped. And this character who Superman, he's killed a couple people by this point. It's a couple other superheroes. And this it's a female superhero. She says to Supes, she's like, after everything you've done, after all the things you've done to me and other people, and she's talking about Bruce, she goes, he still will not kill you. That's why he's better than you. That's why he's the better man than you. And as I said, like, that's kind of where, I would do that whole story in the movie, but not tell you that this is an alternate universe. So basically people walk into this movie thinking that I just totally took these characters you've come to love over the last couple of years and I'm fucking them up.
Yeah.
But instead, like, I'm doing a thing where now the universe you've actually grown to come and accept is coming into this one, and there's going to be conflict between that. So that's the stuff that I'm building up towards for the main DC. And I'm cool with the animated stuff, the TV shows. I don't watch the DC TV shows. I mean, I gave Arrow a chance. I watched a couple episodes, and I kind of found it boring as crap. But
I mean, I'm fine with there being at least like one or two like iterations of a character, but like there are like 4 Batmans, and there are like 4 Supermans, or maybe not 4 Supermans, but like keep it down to 2. And
yeah,
I mean, listen, the multiverse exists. DC has come right out and said, like, multiverse exists. Like, they've already visited like a bunch of the different Earths on the Flash and Arrow.
Yeah.
Batwoman, that whole Batwoman arc for the next crossover is going to be yet on another Earth.
Okay.
So I mean, the multiverse does exist, so it makes sense in that way. But they're just not doing it right. I love your idea.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's brilliant. I think it might be the way to fix video game movies. And it would like anything from a comic or a video game, it wouldn't be like an exact adaptation, right?
No, it wouldn't be. I mean, you can alter stuff because not a ton, I don't think a ton of people have read, unless you're into comics, have read Injustice. So it has, because the thing with the Infinity Gauntlet is they took for Marvel, they took the Infinity Gauntlet story and flipped it around and did different things with it.
They did. Yep.
So it wasn't just, Thanos has it and snaps his fingers. It was a totally different story.
Since DC Comics did their Rebirth series, where they've kind of like rebooted the universe again after the New 52, Tom King has been writing Batman again, and they are some of the best comics I've ever read. And one of the arcs that he's done that I would love to see in a new Batman movie is I forget, I think it's something called like The Long War. Basically, the Joker can't laugh anymore for some reason or other. Like the Riddler has like screwed with him.
Yeah.
And it's a gang war. The Riddler and the Joker go on a gang war in Gotham that kills thousands of people in Gotham, and Batman does not know how to stop it. I forget how it ends. I have to go back and reread them. But it's a long arc, and it is a great, great story because, like, dude, like Joker and the Riddler facing off, that could be lots of fun.
and that's the thing, is that DC has, much like Marvel, they have decades of stories to draw from, and they don't. Or at least, let me rephrase that, they do, but they pull the parts that people think they want to see. And it's like, because I mean, and the thing about the Justice League movie that it completely failed at is Superman's death. I'm sorry, Batman Superman, rather, not Justice League, but that's when he was resurrected.
Dawn of Justice.
Yeah, but Batman Superman, like Superman's death meant nothing.
No.
There was no. I mean, that was what his Henry Cavill's second movie. It was Man of Steel, and then
Yeah, if he was going to die, it shouldn't have been in that movie.
And I mean, I said from the get go is that because when I found out, when the promotional things, I think it was, and they showed Doomsday, I was like, this movie's already done.
It's already bad
because Doomsday should be its own movie. Superman and Doomsday, that's it. That's all that movie should be.
If you talk about Superman and you talk about Superman from the 90s, like the first thing that should pop up to anybody's head is the Doomsday story.
Yeah,
and Superman's rebirth from that.
I mean, because when I was younger, like I can't tell, and I've told younger kids this, kids that I work with, who were not either alive or were way too young, but Superman dying at the hands of Doomsday back in the 90s when it happened was a big frickin' deal.
It was devastating, and it wasn't like he came
it was
back
on
to life
news.
immediately.
It was on the news. I remember seeing stories about it on my news station and they said like, oh, DC is putting out the comic that kills Superman, and that had never happened.
No,
they had never killed Superman or anything like that before.
It probably stands as one of the greatest comic arcs of all time. Comic stories, like his death and rebirth.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that, and the problem is that the current DC movies never established Superman. We don't know why he cared. We don't know why we should care about him. And that's, as we both agree, we're Man of Steel apologists, but I feel the movie failed utterly. Like, and I was okay with him killing Zod because you're not always going to be in a situation where the answer is going to be clear.
People who complained about him killing Zod need to just shut up because it was completely justified. And Superman in the right situations will kill somebody.
The funny thing is that I'm pretty certain. Granted, it's been almost 20 years since I've sat down and watched all the way through. I'm quite certain he killed Zod in Superman 2.
He sends them back to the Phantom Zone.
I thought he stripped his powers and threw him into some pit in the.
Oh yeah, he might have done that too.
He threw him in some pit in the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to sit down and watch that again at some point just to be sure. But people don't bitch about that. No. And Batman, I understand people being upset with him killing because that is one of his fundamental character personality traits. He does not kill no matter the situation. He will basically allow himself to be killed before he lets even the Joker die.
I think what we both agree on is that there should have been a Man of Steel 2 before Batman vs Superman, and then there was going to be, and now it's not going to happen, obviously.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is, and that what I was getting at before is that okay, Superman kills Zod. To me, there should have been a scene following that where basically he's broken, where he essentially is like, Krypton is gone. Yeah. Like, it's never coming back, and it happened at my hands. And basically where he could have been in tears, just sobbing and saying, I'll never take a life again. Yeah. I'll never do that again. Like, never again. So now that life is sacred to him, that he will never take another life if he can absolutely help it. And that's where you could have done the Doomsday stories, because now Doomsday shows up and Doomsday just kills everything. And so now you have the diametric opposite. You have the man who does not kill no matter what versus the thing that kills anything. And the collision of those two forces. So, I mean, it was a lost opportunity. And the thing is that Superman's funeral, they should have been a huge tear-jerking moment. Yeah. Because, I mean, and kind of, it's not really spoilers here, but Chris Evans basically saying, like, I've played Captain America for 8 years. It's it. I'm done. So, to me, that's either he's walking into the sunset or Captain America dies in the next movie. You can't tell me that won't be a tear-jerking moment for most people when they see Chris Evans step away from the Shield. I will be devastated. And that's the thing. They never built that. We're not connected to any single DC character. No, we're not, and that's the problem. Yeah. And that's they're most of them aren't fun.
Well, I'm hoping that Aquaman, and we didn't mention it. We're out of time. Maybe we'll talk about another episode. Shazam, Aquaman, Shazam, Suicide Squad 2. Maybe they're on their way. We're hoping so. We talked about how we could change it. We want to know how you would fix the DC universe. You could email us at permittedpod@gmail.com, Instagram us, Facebook us, Twitter us. That's our show for tonight. For Matt, I'm Julian. We will see you in 2 weeks for our Halloween episode. Woo! Have a good night.
To the moon, fire plane to the rocket.